to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First on the agenda is our recognitions.
Good evening. So I am so excited to introduce Miss Carly Thomas as the Tiger Paw student that exemplifies that portrait of a graduate characteristic of critical thinking. We have her preschool teacher, Miss Michelle Cameron, here to tell you why we chose Carly for that trait.
So I chose Carly for critical thinking because I have seen her consistently solve problems for herself and her friends this school year. She asks great questions to gain insight and grow her understanding. And whenever we're learning new things, she's always able to make new connections with the new information and then tie it to something that she already knows. So I am very proud of her hard work this year. So way to go, Carly.
Good evening. I am here with Miss Delilah Buchanan and her teacher, Mrs. Hewlett. And Mrs. Hewlett going to say a few words about how she earned the trait of being our critical thinker at North.
Hi, Delilah has really excelled in academics all throughout the year. She came in with a wealth of knowledge and she has applied what she knows with what we're learning very well. She pays attention in class. She's always willing to participate, answers questions. She works well with her partners, works well in a group, and she's a really strong leader for others. In addition to those qualities, Delilah's willing to help whenever there's a need. She's a good friend and always comes in with a positive attitude. Yay, Delilah.
Good evening. We are excited to bring Bella McFadden, one of our second grade students at South, as our student of the month. And Miss Billingsley's here to share a few words on her behalf.
I chose Bella McFadden as my portrait of a graduate winner because she's an amazing example of a critical thinker both in and out of my classroom. Yesterday at morning meeting, I asked her peers to describe her to me, and here are some of the things that they said about her. Bella is always ready to help. Bella always gets her work done and pushes herself to do better. And lastly, Bella listens the first time and figures out problems on her own. Bella is all of these things and more. She sets goals and achieves them. She problem solves even the hardest task. She pushes herself and others to be the best version of themselves. And she encourages me to be a better teacher. I am so lucky to have Bella in my class.
All right, good afternoon. Somehow East got second string. Miss Capon is gone, Dr. Sappington somewhere else. So here we are. Kingston White is their student of the month. I have not been with Kingston, but I was only at East for about 3 hours this week, and 2 people approached me and said, I heard you're going to get to introduce Kingston, and he is the greatest kid. So way to go to let your reputation precede you. So his 3rd grade teacher, Rhonda Roman's with us, and she's going to tell all the fabulous things about Kingston.
All right. Kingston is new to Ozark this year. He comes to us all the way from Utah. And he started the school year not being familiar with the school, not being familiar with the kids or really knowing anybody. And he very quickly became loved and respected by his peers and his teachers. So he's off to a great start here at Ozark. Kingston has shown great critical thinking skills in all areas of instruction. He is an excellent listener who actively participates in class discussions with a curiosity for why and how things work. His love for learning has been a joy to see and a wonderful example to his classmates. We are so happy to have him at Ozark and especially at East Elementary. So congratulations, Kingston. Good job.
I want to make sure Dad can get a good video. Do you want to stand right here? Okay, this is Colson Cox, and Colson is a kindergarten student at West Elementary in Mrs. McCary's class, and she had the following things to say about Colson. Colson is an amazing boy with the biggest heart that I have ever seen in a 6-year-old. He is quick to include anyone or be a partner with anyone in our classroom. One day stands out in particular when a fellow student was having a hard day regulating some very big emotions throughout the day. Colson had earned free choice block corner at the end of the day, and instead of choosing one of his best buddies, he asked that particular student if they would like to play with him. Colson is a tremendous leader in our classroom, but he does it by example and never calls attention to himself. So congrats, Colson. And then this is Matthew Plazek, and he is a 4th grade student in Miss Reek's class. And Miss Reek had the following to say about Matthew. Matthew is a critical thinker both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. He is great at making connections in the classroom to real-life situations. He also sets high standards for himself and always tries to solve problems. Matthew simply does not give up. Critical thinkers know to try first, then ask questions. Matthew is confident in asking good questions to help make connections as he grows in his learning. Furthermore, he is a role model for people around him in his actions and words. He includes others and has an awareness of the people around him and how he should respond to them. In addition, Matthew is great at collaborating with others when working in teams. Congratulations, Matthew.
All right, good evening. So tonight, our March critical thinker, I have tonight, Miss Lindsay Settle, but we have a first tonight. Typically, when I email the teams at the middle school, we'll get 1, maybe 2 teachers who want to come and represent our student of the month. But this month, we actually have her entire team here, and that just speaks volumes to me about what they think of this young lady standing here. All 3 teachers chose tonight to be here in attendance. So with us, we have Miss Lauren Taylor, our science teacher. Mr. Jamie Duggar teaches math, and Miss Frazier, she's going to talk a little bit about Lindsay here and why they selected her.
We love the opportunity to get to share Lindsay with you. She's an amazing student in all 3 of our classes, a critical thinker, and she goes above and beyond in her learning. She's flexible, and we love that she can work in all groups, and she works with shoulder partners. Amazing, and she is an overachiever. She always likes to know how she can do more and do better, especially in writing and reading. She loves that, and so thank you for letting us share her with you tonight.
Hello, this is John Bush. He's a 7th grader and he is on Team Oceana. I could not pick which teachers write up to discuss, so this is going to be long. I don't normally go very long, but so first one is social studies, which is Miss Jenkins. John is an outstanding student and I love having him in class. He always is the first student to have his hand raised when I ask the class a question. When I pose a challenge or give the students a problem to come up with ideas on how to solve the issue, he always comes up with ideas that I would not have thought of. He always thinks outside the box. He is one of the sweetest I have ever had, a true critical thinking rock star. And then Mrs. Ramlow in English. John stands out for his sharp mind and impressive vocabulary. He is always eager to answer questions, and his ability to articulate his thoughts clearly using a wide range of sophisticated words shows his strong grasp of language and curiosity about the world around him. And then last one, Mr. McFeeters in science. John excels at challenges in class. He strives to truly understand the science and thinks about how the concepts could be applied in situations other than what is discussed in class. And then Mr. McFeeters gave me a side note for you. He also likes to wordplay and he likes jokes. Talking with John is always interesting because it could be a deep conceptual thought, a good pun, or a setup that you never see coming.
Finley School Student of the Month is Sebastian Decker. Sebastian's a senior. We have parent-teacher conferences happening today, and about an hour ago, I heard a story that derailed everything I was going to say about Sebastian. And the story goes like this. Perhaps some of you have heard of a website called Community Chit Chat. Sebastian was the subject of a post on Community Chit Chat where a customer at Taco Bell raved about the nice young man that took care of her as a wonderful representative for Ozark schools. Specifically, his parents raised a fine young man, and I would like to echo that mirrors every interaction I've had with Sebastian in this year. It was so impressive that the lady has offered him a job at the bank because she is looking for young adults that give that kind of customer support. That has very little to do with critical thinking, but that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for in an Ozark Tiger and a Finley student. So Sebastian Decker is our portrait of a graduate.
Good evening, guys. Our Ozark High School critical thinker is Miss Juliana Kashuba. This is what her teacher had to say about her. Juliana is a motivated, driven, and well-rounded 12th grade student with a bright future ahead of her. I'm confident she will continue to excel in her future endeavors, and I wholeheartedly recommend her for the portrait of a graduate. She recently achieved first place in this year's TSA CAD Architecture Challenge and is certain to do well in the upcoming Missouri Bridge Contest, which speaks to her outstanding technical, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. Juliana is a valued A+ tutor and mentor to other students. She maintains a spot on the honor roll, and her involvement in extracurricular activities further demonstrates her passion for learning and leadership. After graduation, she plans to pursue a degree in engineering from Missouri State University. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Juliana Kashuba.
All right, next on our agenda is a culture and climate report.
That's me.
I want to quickly go over some information that we have gathered. And I will say that Dr. Carson, he is usually here, and in the 3 years I've been here, he has not missed, I don't think he's missed a board meeting yet. But I will tell you that his daughter is getting married on Saturday. And he goes, "Oh, I can still make it to the board meeting." I said, "If you do, I swear your daughter and your wife will kill you." So he he is working hard on setting up the wedding for his daughter. So each year we send out a survey, a climate and culture survey. And we do this not only to have actionable data to help with our culture and climate, but also in the past 3 years with the new MSEP 6 regulations, it is now a requirement that every school does this. And there are specific questions that they want us to ask for MSEP 6, and then we can add other questions that we want. We have 3 years now of data with the same questions. And so I'll tell you, the parent survey, we had 546 responses, staff survey, 183, and I'll talk to you about that in just a second. 3rd through 6th grade, almost 1,500, and 7th through 12th grade, almost, a little over 1,300. As I said, the Missouri School Improvement Process requires us to send out a survey. And then also we use this as part of our feedback for our comprehensive school improvement plan. As we develop our new strategic plan, this will be something that we work on and develop. That culture and climate, I have no doubt, is going to be in our strategic plan, and so we'll really hone in on some questions that meet that and give us some guidance. So the format: surveys are given to the students, staff, and parents in the month of December through winter break. Communication department sends out reminders to parents multiple times throughout the window, and students are given the survey during the school day because they pretty much have a captive audience. We have a captive audience. In the past, I will tell you that the staff survey with the 183 responses, we're going to send that out again and ask for them to do that tomorrow. The goal was that when the staff came back the Monday after winter break, that they would once again have a captive audience and they would fill out the survey. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the teachers and staff, we had a snow day that day, so they were not able to do that. And then if they're like me, on Monday, when the students came, they hit the ground running and it wasn't a high priority. So we understand that a survey of 183 probably skews the data a little bit, and it's not getting the information that we want. So we're going to ask that they take that tomorrow, and then we'll bring back that information to you. The themes that we ask or we look at from a climate and culture survey: engagement, culture, relationships, support, safety, and security. Right now, we have a Likert scale of 1 to 5, strongly disagree at 1, and 5, strongly agree. We will look, as we are developing our survey for our strategic plan, at changing that Likert scale a little bit. If you go to, yes, the next slide, Dr. Carson gave some information, and this is just a snapshot of some big themes that he had. And you can see student engagement, personal relationships, classroom culture, academic expectations, instructional methods, safety, and security. What is good about the 3rd through 6th grade, it's pretty even. And if you know anything about elementary students, they're a pretty happy lot. And they're positive. And so if you look at those, our numbers are really good and they remain steady. There was no significant swings in the survey. They were generally satisfied with their teachers, their learning, and their classmates. The lowest strand for the students, grade 3 through 6, was classroom culture, and it was made up of 2 questions. Students behave well in my class. And remember, you're asking 3rd through 6th graders on this. Students behave well in my class, and students in my class treat the teacher with respect. The students did not have a strong positive or negative response to either of these questions. And so it does bring to light behaviors, I think, and that is something that, just as teachers have said numerous times, how behaviors have changed over the past few years and things that we need to work on. And hopefully we will address some of those in the strategic planning. If you look at, and I'm quickly going through this, if you look at grades 7 through 12, if you notice that it goes from a 4-point-something to 3s, and that usually happens as kids get older. They're not as happy to be in school sometimes. But in this, we also had some different themes here: student engagement, school culture, academic rigor, relationships with teachers, relationship with peers, and safety and security. He says that the safety and security and academic rigor were the highest themes. He also says most students, the biggest movement were in the questions: most students in this school want to do well in class. and the school system assures student voices are heard and respected. Both of these dropped by 0.2 points. The student voice question is a DESE mandated question for MSEP 6. Within the theme, relationships with peers, the question about a feeling a part of the school community also fell. Overall, movement among secondary student responses were slightly down. All the averages fell within the 3 to 4 point range, but we do need to celebrate that out of the a celebration to point out is that secondary students believe that my teacher's expectations make me want to do my best. It was at 3.5. So that is a really positive thing. My teachers have expectations that make me want to do my best. Another celebration is that the secondary students believe that most of my teachers want me to use my thinking skills, not just memorize things. And that was at 4.1. So kudos to our teachers and kudos to our students that recognize that. And then, like I said, we do not have the school data, the faculty and staff. We will bring that next month, but we do have parent data. And on this, we have culture, engagement, relationships, school safety, and support. And what is good about this is that it remained the same or went up. Parent data either remained the same or slightly increased. The themes of culture and support both went up by 0.1. Regarding transparency within the MSEP 6 questions, parents believe that the school provides climate and culture data periodically, the same as last year. Regarding the school system providing information related to parenting skills, the rate increased from 0.1 to 3, increased by 0.1 to 3. Both of these questions are required by MSEP 6. Parents believe that teachers and administrators create an environment that helps students learn. That is a positive aspect to celebrate. It was at 4.2, so I'll repeat that. Parents believe that teachers and administrators create an environment that helps students learn and that students are safe. That's at a 4.0. They also report that their family feels safe when visiting the school, and that is 4.3. So we will take this information. We have this broken down by building, and we will take this information and make sure that the principals are well aware of where their numbers fall, and we will create action plans, especially when we start working on the strategic plan with using the culture information. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for doing these surveys. It's important to get feedback and data to see what the different perspectives are from the different
Sure.
clientele, the different students and parents and teachers. And and I appreciate you putting the graphs together and giving us the results. When I was reading over it earlier this week, I appreciate you explaining some things now, but I thought these numbers are kind of meaningless if we don't have any idea what the questions were. Would you be willing to provide the questions to us also, please?
Yes, we
Thank
sure
you.
can. We will.
Thank you.
Hey, this is great to see that the parents' survey is basically all either the same or better in the last 3 years. So it's great to see that parents believe that the school is positive in that sense. As far as the staff survey, is there ability to add a comment section for their
It just
questions?
it went out. I would say that not on this one, but when we do our next one for all of our strategic planning, yes, there will be comment sections, 100%.
And when there is comment section, can you provide those comments to us? We don't want to hear just the themes of someone's summary, but we'd like to actually, or I would, no, I can't speak for all the rest of us. I would like to actually see what the comments are.
Okay.
Something to consider.
Something to consider.
Thank you.
Yes, I will say when it starts naming, when we have information in there that, because a lot of times there may be names that we wouldn't provide that, but we prefer to do themes and hope that you would understand that we're reporting to you what the themes are and that we're going to take care of the items that we need to take care of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course. And you could redact names, but one person's interpretation of a theme might be different than another person's interpretation of a theme. And I always like to see the whole picture.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks.
Next is the superintendent's report. Did you have anything to add?
First of all, I want to say thank you for being on the board. This is Board Appreciation Month. It is a thankless job, and we all know that, and we all know how well paid you are for this position. But it takes a special person to be able to do this job. And the first thing that I know each of you believe in is that we want to do what's best for our children and the students in our community. And that it should be every time the number one decision, no matter what, the number one factor when we make a decision, is it best for our students? And I know that you as a board make that decision with those students in mind every time. I will say from just a board report or a report, we'll just keep abreast of all the legislative issues that are going on. There were 3 of us and Dr. Curtis, that went up to Dr. Curtis, Dr. Chesick, that went up to Jefferson City on Tuesday and spoke with our representative as well as our senator and just expressed some concerns we had about certain bills. And it was a great conversation, and it was great to hear from other viewpoints as well. So just keep in mind all the legislative issues that are coming down the pike, and we will know where everything stands, I believe, by May 5th, right around that time frame.
Anything to add on the district reports from admin?
Curtis, can you speak to the update about the tennis courts and the other projects there? What?
Yeah, so the tennis courts, once again, thanks to the board for supporting, reallocating the money that we saved on bond projects to that list that's before you. Tennis courts is moving quickly. We met with the tennis coach and coaching staff and Mr. Little to set up a schedule as far as practicing. So we're just a hair behind on that, but Rebecca Jenkins was amazing in working with us and allowing us to start the work, to leave the courts in a safe manner for practice, and to work with us through the 17th. We'll actually shut the courts down completely to begin that resurfacing, which then Yancey and Coach Jenkins were able to work out an agreement for the additional practices on rented space. And then we also are, where we were hosting the local, we're actually then going to go away for those games. So really appreciate their work working with us to get that done in a timely manner to save the money that we did, but also to get the courts in a not only working condition, but a great condition. So that's moving along wonderfully. We're going to go headlong into it next week. Over spring break, it'll start. Our Newell, the boiler projects, those were approved and the agreements were signed last month. Those are progressing. We're waiting on parts to arrive. Talked with Train on Tuesday. The goal was to hopefully have those in place to do the work before cooling season. It is 81 degrees today. So I think we missed that mark. But that was a pie in the sky. That really was. So as soon as we can start working on those, we'll get those replaced, but parts ordered, agreements are signed. We're ready to move on that. Baseball field, we have an initial drawing. We're still trying to work through the details, get a contract and how we're going to proceed with that. We'll have more for you on that when we come back after the break. Playground, a lot of progress. We have, I will tell you, and the conversation I've had with several companies is we are one of the most attractive opportunities out there right now with the dollar amount that you guys have allowed us to put into Tiger Paw. We've had 2 on site so far, and we have I'll have another one next Wednesday coming down from Kansas City to look at it's built on a hill. So a 2% elevation change or slope is all we're allowed to have for a proper ADA. So there's some questions on how they're going to do that. Everybody has plans. Tomorrow we're taking 12 Tiger Paw, 10 Tiger Paw, and then myself and Dr. Sappington are going to go and we're going to tour 4 different early childhood, special ed, ADA, inclusive playgrounds. And they're going to score those and they're going to come back with ideas. Once we have the proposals back, then we'll score those, and then there'll be ideas that we get in those from each person. They'll give, but reality is those are going to be a starting point. Then once we have the proposals, the board approves the appropriate vendor, then we'll sit down with Tiger Paw as well as whichever vendor we choose to come up with the actual design. We just want to make sure that we have an ADA compliant all-inclusive playground, and the vendor's been vetted properly. So, softball, we will hopefully have some action on that later tonight, which will give us an opportunity to sit down and talk with individual about what they and Mr. Little think would be appropriate there. So we're making movement. And honestly, it's a lot of different projects all going at the same time. And I've communicated with Mr. Ritchie on these, and we'll continue to keep, because some of these are they'll all go well beyond the roof. I think I have the dates in there for you on that. The 27th is going to be our pre-bid meeting. And then we are hopeful to have, we will have an opportunity to bring you, the board, a recommendation next month. So we're good. Thank you.
I have two quick questions.
Yes.
When you said the stadium is going to be shut down starting the 17th, that's the tennis.
The tennis court,
courts.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's so right now it's open to the team to practice.
Mhm.
And then starting next week, we're going to shut it down not only to the community, but to the teams.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then, maybe I just don't understand how it works. I would think before we approved a vendor, we would know what the plans were that were being proposed. But you said we're going to approve a vendor and then they will sit down and develop the plans?
Yeah, so it's a request for proposals. So the proposal will come and they'll look at the proposal and they'll say, I like this. And we're going to score all of so we're looking at the different vendors tomorrow. So we'll know, the team will know what they're looking for and what they like. And it's just, so we don't want a vendor who's never talked with any of our Tiger Paw staff or administration to come in and say, here's the plan for you.
Right.
What they're doing is here's a plan, and then we can come back and say, you know what, I really don't like the steering wheel. I'd rather have some kind of musical apparatus right here. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about the design.
So the thing we're approving is not the contract or the details of the plan, because they
Right.
haven't even talked about that yet.
We're-
The only thing we're approving is who is working with them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. thank
Yeah, and in those recommendations, or and then when we get those back, they're gonna put dollar amounts. So it'll be that it'll cost us this much to do the new, and it'll be itemized as far as, because we have two pretty substantial ADA sidewalks that we'll have to put in to get there. So they'll break that down. And then we also have buffer room for fixing the other playground. So all of that will be itemized when we come back.
Is it not standard if you have to expand a building or you put in a new building and it tears out something else, like they lost so much of their playground? Wouldn't that is that possible to normally in the future put that as part of the building, is replacing whatever gets kind of torn up?
Yeah, they didn't lose any playground. They added students, and when they added students, the additional playground was needed. So when we built West, we built in one playground, we had to come back and put the other one in. So absolutely.
But at Tiger Paw, they didn't, I thought it was on top of part of their old playground. Am I misremembering that?
So what moved with the storm shelter,
Mhm.
it took up green space, but they didn't lose any apparatus. Actually, we added an apparatus.
Oh.
They lost the green space, which is what they have behind. So they had a place where they had their little tykes, and that's a brand name. I don't know if they were really little tykes, but they had the little playhouses and stuff.
Mm.
Then if that stuff is now in the green space where we're going to put the new playground. But as far as they didn't lose swings, basketball or anything like that.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on the agenda is future dates.
Sorry, I had a question about the attendance. I like it that the attendance report is on the district reports every time, but it'd be nice to see a trend. I happen to have one of the old ones still open on my computer and I had printed one out. So I mean, I could look back and see, oh, we lost a student or we lost 2 or 3 students, but is it too much trouble to ask? Could you put on there a trend of what's happening each month?
So
how it's gone from August?
Yes, we have one of the reports is an enrollment report. One of the reports is that attendance report. So you're referring to the enrollment report when it talks about the numbers.
Oh, I'm talking about enrollment. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Sorry.
So you would like to see like a plus minus on each building to see what they lost the previous month or something?
Yeah, or even just overall, just one number overall. Or if you put it on each building, that'd be awesome. I wasn't trying to make more work for you. I just thought it'd be more helpful to be able to compare the trend.
Sure. If I can follow up with you after the meeting, I'll.
Sure.
let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, future dates? The election day is April 8th. We do have a meet the candidate date on March 24th from 6 to 7. And that is here.
Is that a town hall where people get to ask questions, or what is that?
So it is sponsored by the PTA. And yes, they are, each building will submit a question that the candidates will have in advance. And then there will be online questions that can be submitted, and then those will be answered. We talked about, and I think that there's going to be, if there's time for people that are there, they're going to have to look at, online versus people that are in the audience and see if the questions are the same and try to work with that. But last year, I think there was the time frame for that, and that's the intent, I believe, also. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. And then next board meeting will be April 17th, following the election. Next, public comment. We didn't have anyone sign up for tonight. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Me. Okay. I'm like, we can't see his face. Got to see his face.
All right. New business,
Oh, approve.
approve policy JG-RI.
Okay. So this was brought to you last month as far as the procedure goes. There was some changes that were made based on the conversations that you had last month with Dr. Carson. And so after that, we came back and said, we need to change under academic dishonesty, a certain portion of that policy, which is JGR1. So it did say, just basically AI was academic dishonesty. That was included. So now what it says, basically cheating on tests, assignments, projects, or similar activities, plagiarism, claiming credit for another person's work, fabrication of facts, sources, or other supporting material, unauthorized collaboration, facilitating academic dishonesty and other misconduct related to academics, including unauthorized use of generative artificial AI, such as large language models, chatbots. So we ask that you approve this change to the policy.
One thing I would, I think I mentioned this to you on page 3 under the violation of these provisions. It says shall result in disciplinary action, including but not limited to suspension. Can we change the word to say something like may include suspension? Or, because how it reads to me is if you use it, it's suspension and the other stuff.
Yeah. And I talked to Dr. Carson, and since he wasn't here, he wasn't able to go back and look at that, but yes, we will. Yeah. So I ask for your approval on the policy, please.
With my change.
That's on the procedure,
So the policy is just adding in that green.
the ingredient, yes.
I make a motion that we approve policy JG-RI.
I'll second.
R1. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is E-rate bid approval.
All right, so thank you for considering approval for our networking equipment. So the networking equipment we put out for an RFP is for next fiscal year. So it'd be on next year's budget. But we were doing it through the E-rate reimbursement process. So if you ever get your phone bill from your cell phone, if you ever see a universal service fee for like $2.45, that's actually what the federal government collects for the E-rate program to reimburse schools, depending on their free and reduced lunch rate. So some schools that have a really low free and reduced lunch rate might get a reimbursement percentage of like 40%. Some that have a really high one might get as high as 90%. Where Ozark sits with their current free and reduced lunch rate, we receive 60% reimbursement. And so they have a long process that it takes to get reimbursement. You have to fill out a 470 first to basically put out the projects that you're going to want for next year. And so after you put out a 470, which can include an RFP, you get vendors that respond to those RFPs. And the one that our biggest one by far was for networking equipment. So what this networking equipment does for us is when we have our internet connection that comes into the high school, we also have lease fiber through Liberty Utilities that connects each of the buildings to create a mesh network to connect all those buildings together. And so the network equipment is that switching equipment that connects all those buildings physically together. So basically it can communicate, your access points communicate with your switches. So any student that's using a Chromebook, a teacher using a laptop, that is how that communication happens for it to connect to the network. So what the equipment we have here is what we call the core or layer 3 of our network, meaning that those switches are the actual components that actually connect to our internet connection and connect the fiber between the buildings. So that is the proposal you have here. And so when we got the responses from all of the vendors that responded to our RFP, we had 4 different companies respond: Yellow Dog Networks, Provision Networks, CDWG, and Howard. And so some of the criteria we had in our RFP, number 1 is price. So one of the components of E-rate is your number 1 criteria has to be price. And then the other 4 that we had was the capacity to achieve desired service levels, the company experience. So how long have they been in the industry doing these type of projects, references from other school districts that have used these companies, and then also their project delivery methods. What type of switching equipment are they using, and how are they going to basically schematically scheme out our network and the best solution for that. So myself, Kyle Anderson, and Brad Eldwood got together, evaluate all the bids, use that criteria. And after looking through that, Yellow Dog was not only the low price provider, but also provided us the best bid. So because sometimes your best bid might not be low bid. You don't want to go with a company that's fly by night, not going to have a warranty on their product, not going to stand by their solution. And so, but in this situation, Yellow Dog was not only the lowest, but it was, we considered, the best bid based on their criteria. So what I'm asking today is to approve Yellow Dog Networks as the vendor selected to purchase this equipment. And so the next steps are, if the board approves tonight, I would let Yellow Dog know that the board has approved the proposal. And so we would sign a contract to purchase this equipment. And so that contract would then be used to fill out a Form 471 through E-rate, which would then go through and get approval to get reimbursement. So although you see that the final price here is $260,000 plus, we would get 60% reimbursement on that through the E-rate program for all equipment. So there are some small things that don't qualify, but the majority of that does qualify for a 60% reduction. So the actual amount that we would pay would be about 60% discount from that. So quick math, we're looking about, $110,000 is what the district would pay off of this $260,000 that was quoted from Yellow Dog. So of course, all that has to be approved after we fill out the 471. So to get the 471, I have to have a contract. And so that is why I am here in front of you today asking for this bid approval. Is there any questions that I can answer on this quote from Yellow Dog or the process we did to select them?
You're saying we get a 60% reimbursement, or?
So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can pay the full 260 up front and fill out a bear form, it's called, which gives you reimbursement, or you can do the SPI method, which takes the discount right off the top. And we're going to elect to do the SPI method. So we just get the straight discount and we're not paying the 260 up front and then receiving a check on the back end.
So we receive about 156,000 back?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, all the 260,000 isn't, there's a couple things in there. Like we have some redundant power supplies that aren't E-rate eligible. But most of that, I would say 90% of that 260,000 is E-rate eligible. And then we plan to every single year, have equipment through this E-rate program. And so, to have a contract this large, especially you have to have board approval. And so you should continue to see around springtime, this type of year, you know, these type of asks to, hey, here's our RFP, here's the vendors we have. Would you be able to approve that for next fiscal year? I know it's hard because, you know, June is the time where we have the budget proposal for next fiscal year. And so you're asking for that approval now. But to get up, you know, funding for the next fiscal year, their deadline is March 25th to finish your 471. And so that is why I'm coming to you so early now, asking for this and not waiting longer until like April or June, you know, through that time period. So.
And when did, maybe you said this, when was the reimbursement? You said the following year?
Sure. So once we sign the contract, they will bill us after July 1 as part of the E-rate rules. And so when they bill us after July 1, that will be discounted. And so we should see a bill somewhere around July from Yellow Dog for this equipment with that discount for this. Yeah.
So why is it that why would a district choose to, instead of getting the discount immediately, to get it reimbursed later? Are there some fees or interests or something
Sure.
like that associated with it?
That's a great question. I can tell you one reason. So in the past, I will make this company, I will not name the name, but their billing was very confusing. From month to month, they would have different credits and rebates and all sorts of things. And so it was very, very difficult to understand how their billing worked and what it was. And this is another district. So when I was with, and so to make sure we got the right amount, we did a bear method to make sure the whole, basically, because it was a month-to-month billing, it wasn't just a one-time like this, to make sure that we were charged the amount that we, you know, had been agreed to, and that we were having the right reimbursement. Because if we'd done the SBI method and they did discounts each month, we didn't believe that we would have got the correct discount. And so that's why we chose the bear method for that situation. I would think most people would choose the SBI method, so that way you get it up front. There's maybe some smaller amounts where people just decide to do a bear method, but anything that's larger, why wouldn't you want the discount right away?
Except for you have to pay the whole thing at the beginning. And the people who do it monthly could pay a little bit each month. Is there an interest fee with that? or
There's not.
something?
No. So it's just to each their own, I guess you could say, of how they want to, you know, do that. So.
Thanks. I just wanted to hear the pros and cons of each of the different methods.
If they have difficult billing, I can see why someone want to do bear method and wait for the reimbursement to make sure they have the right amount. But something is cut, you know, clear cut as this is, I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't do SBI and do the discount right away. So.
Is there a motion to approve the E-rate bid?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by James,
I'll second.
second by Dustin, all in favor? Okay, unanimously approved.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for your hard work on that. Oh,
Next
and I
on
love
the
the way you
agenda-
wrote the proposal. That was awesome. I love how you put all those details in there of who did what and all the other ones. That was good. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the 25-26 employee insurance.
All right, well, before we hop into this, that company logo in the upper left-hand corner, I've got to give a big shout out to BPJ. Our three brokers are here in the back with us tonight. We've got Stan, Scott, and Mike. They've just been incredible to work with over the last year. It's hard to, I can't believe it's been a year already that we've been working with them, but they've been incredible advocates for us and helping look out for the best interests of our employees as we go out and look for insurance here. And that's what they've put a lot of time and energy into this, to making sure that we have a great product for our staff and for our employees. So what I want to highlight are 4 things tonight that are changing for our insurance for next year. The first thing that we're looking to change is our plan year. Currently, our plan year runs July 1 through June 30 of every year. Smack dab right in the middle of that, every January 1, our deductibles start over again. So to eliminate some confusion and to be consistent, we're going to align our plan year with the calendar year. That's one of the first changes. Doing that will require about an 18-month commitment here on the insurance. So we'll have a 6-month, you'll see a 6-month premium at the bottom, and then you'll have underneath that a 12-month premium. So that'll carry us for the next 18 months all the way through the end of December of 2026. One of the great things about this too is that it moves our open enrollment from being, at the end of March, beginning of April, when everybody's getting ready for MAP, EOC testing, to the end of October. So I think from an employee standpoint, I think this is a really good move for just changing our calendar year. The next thing we're looking to do, as you see up there now, there are 4 plans. We had 2 prior. We're adding 2 new plans. One of those plans is a PPO plan. It's the Partners 80-3000. That is going to be a $3,000 deductible, $6,000 max out of pocket for the employee. And that plan there leads into the third component that we're changing, is that's going to be the new district paid plan that everything's going to be based off of. Employees still will have the option to buy up to the $1,500 deductible plan. That would just cost $37 a month, not per paycheck, just per month, because we get paid twice a month. So it's just $37 a month for the first 6 months. And I believe it jumps to 41. I can't see the bottom number, but I think it jumps to 4. So it jumps if they want to buy up to 41 there for that next year. Another plan that we're adding is a high deductible health plan with an HSA. We have one already, but that's the plan on the far left there. That's in the EPO network. That's the plan we have now. And that's a very limited, very small network. If you choose that plan, really, you can go to Cox Hospital, Cox Doctors. You can go to Barnes up in St. Louis if you need some heart work. But it's a very limited, very small group. Whereas the HSA just to the right of that one, that column there, thanks for highlighting that, Dan. That is a new one, and that is in the PPO network. So that's an expanded network. It's still the same level of coverages, but what we're offering our employees is an opportunity to have that high deductible health plan, but have that First Health network. So heaven forbid you're up in Kansas City and you have your child on your plan, and they're, playing volleyball and they roll their ankle and you've got to go to emergency room. Well, if you had that high deductible health plan that we have just this year, you'd be in a tough spot. It'd be a lot of out-of-pocket costs. Whereas with this plan, if you had that one, you would have an in-network provider up there. So that'd be a great thing. So we just wanted to give our employees more choice. So adding in those additional plans there. And then the last thing that we're looking to switch with our insurance is our supplemental benefits providers. Right now we have MetLife and Unum. MetLife takes care of our vision and dental. Unum takes care of our voluntary life, our long-term, short-term disability. We're looking to bring all that in under one house, under Kansas City Life. Some of the great things that KCL will provide for us is the same level of coverages, except the premiums are actually less than what we're paying now, which is great, especially for like vision, same network. Kansas City Life came back, and for the employee, it's about $2.50 cheaper next year than it is right now. So same levels of coverage. I'm really excited about that. And then when you look at on the voluntary life side, Kansas City Life is going to offer our employees a true open enrollment. So if they don't have voluntary life insurance right now, they will have an opportunity, no medical questions, to pick that up. And that is an incredible benefit to our staff. So again, BPJ has been great working for us, trying to find just some great resources. And again, those are supplementary benefits there that employees choose and employees pay for. And when the costs are coming back less than what we're paying now, I'm really excited. I feel like they're really going out and looking out for our best interests. So that's really, again, the 4 main changes that we've got for insurance this year. You guys have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So it makes sense in some areas to make the plan year from January to December. How will that work in this situation where a lot of contracts are from July to June? How will that work when somebody comes in new or somebody leaves early?
Yeah, we would just onboard them. We would just onboard them and start their benefits.
That doesn't change their rates or their deductibles or anything?
No, their rates and deductibles are set there. Yeah. Yeah, that won't change.
Do you have a waiting
It would just be the start of the next month.
period? So just
Yeah.
30 days?
Yep.
Or the
Yeah.
next month?
But if you only have like 3 months left for your deductible, to.
Which we do that for non-certified people too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you've kind of relayed this or communicated this to the staff and teachers across the district, the changes here?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. So prior to this meeting, Dr. Wilson and I, for the last 2 weeks, have gone around building to building, different departments, just meeting with them. We sent an email blast out to each building, inviting them. It was non-mandatory, but just giving everybody an opportunity to sit down in a small group, ask questions and not feel intimidated, and just try to educate, because we're talking about health insurance and we want to make sure that your employees, everybody understands what is in each plan so that they can make the most educated and the best decision for their family and for themselves. So we try to be very intentional about getting around and talking not only about the plans, but the why.
Will you tell a little bit about how last year's claims compared to payments?
Absolutely. So last year's claims, our loss ratio hovered around 125%. Ideally, you'd like to see that around 87%. So but as BPJ assured us, and I'm going to hold them to it, they said that we're in a 10-year cycle. Every 5 years is good. Every 5 years is bad. That's right. Right, guys? Yep. That's a roller coaster. So, a few years ago, we were at an 87. So it is possible. It's just unfortunate right now. We've got some members that are sick. And when I say sick, they've got some real illnesses, cancers, and that's tough. But that's why we have insurance, and we want to make sure we have that to help protect our employees.
So that's part of the reason why we are having to offer more choices now, where it's going to cost just a little bit to stay with the same deductible.
If we want to have that 1,500, yes, ma'am. And when BPJ looked at the analytics, it was really only about 55 people that from last year's plan that used between that $1,500 to that $3,000 threshold. So when we look at about 2,000 members on our plan, we really felt like in the best interest of the majority, making this decision wouldn't have been an impact. So I appreciate you asking.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yep.
We have a motion to approve the presented plan.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second.
Can I just add something to the discussion? I remember reading that they said there weren't bids to have insurance plans besides this. So like, this is our only choice to have insurance. It's not like we decided, oh, we're going to raise the rates. There weren't any other options.
No, they went out and they advocated, BPJ advocated for us. It's just with our loss ratio being what it was, we just didn't get bids from the major carriers that we were hoping for. But at the end of the day, I'm very thankful for Cox, because they could have come back with us having a 125% loss ratio. They could have bumped our rate way up, but they didn't. They kept us at a 6.5 and a 7.5. And that's because of also too, BPJ's negotiating with them and the work between those two. So again, just I'm appreciative of where we are.
Thank you for your hard work trying to keep costs down in a day and when every cost is going up.
And I'll go out to bid again as soon as this is over. I mean, I'll go out to bid every year, and hopefully if our loss ratio is better, I mean, this is a game every year, you'll try, but it's all going to be dependent upon what our loss ratio was. And if they're that high, I bet you had a lot of decline to respond to.
All in favor? Unanimously approved.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question that's not on here. Maybe it was in the district reports about, we're studying going back to annualized pay. That's a big deal. That's a big help to a lot of employees. It's hard to have, you can't just say, oh, budget. I mean, it's like Springfield, that really hurt their teachers when they switched away from it. So I'm glad to hear that we are studying possibly going back to that. Did I read that somewhere?
Dr. Hedgecourt, would you like to speak to that?
Sorry. That's okay.
So we have a communication going to staff tomorrow to talk about annualized pay. So I met with all the different classified groups that are
You're very
hourly.
well, sorry.
What's that?
I can't hear you very well.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Need to,
Sorry. Thank you.
I'll just scoot down here a little bit. And so we met with all the classified staff that are hourly. And so any staff member, if you work 25 hours or more, you're benefit eligible. We made that change with transportation and food service to try to attract employees, which did a great job doing that. So you're right. When you have pay structures where you don't work during the summer and you get nothing versus maybe you have some snow days in December that you didn't get to work as many days, your pay really fluctuates. So what we did is we went to all the different groups that affected nutrition, food service, transportation, technology, those are groups, and did a presentation for them, showing them the difference. What your paycheck would look like. Just use an example, like a Jane Doe, what your paycheck would look like now and how our current schedule is and what it would look like on annualized pay and how, you get the same amount every month. And answered some questions. Then we gave them a survey afterwards that asked, which would you prefer? And there was an overwhelmingly majority that wanted annualized pay.
That's what I wanted to hear. I
Yeah.
thought they probably would say that, but I
Yeah.
wanted
So there'll be communication going out to staff tomorrow to just kind of announce that decision. And so that gives us
they
about,
decided already. Okay.
so that's going to give us about 3.5 months to do a lot of work on the back end with payroll, with benefits, with HR. Matter of fact, myself, Dr. Witt, and the whole HR and payroll team all met today to kind of go through those things of action items we need to take care of. And then we're going to go through and also create a frequently asked questions that we believe a lot of the staff might have with this change. So that way, when they come back from spring break shortly after, we will have all those lined out. When's your first paycheck if you work 260 days a year? What's your first paycheck if you work 178? Those type of things. And so that way, as people kind of start thinking about that over spring break, they'll come back with questions and we'll hopefully answer all those in our FAQs, and any ones we don't, we'll answer and add it to the FAQ and have a spot on the website where they can reference.
Thank you for letting me ask you about that.
Of course.
Off the cuff. I
Yep.
knew that you guys would know if you've been talking about it. Good, thank you.
Yep, not a problem.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Amber,
Second.
second by Dustin, all in favor?
Aye.
Go home.